call to order the regular town commission meeting of October the 8th. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mayor Tompeck,
Here.
Vice Mayor Finder,
Still here.
Commissioner Burrell,
Here.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Here.
Okay, we're supposed to have a presentation by Premier Realty, but I'm guessing that's not happening.
No, they couldn't make it tonight, so I have it up on the screens, but basically they're always active with our residents during the Halloween time, and I think their trunk or treat is their big event now that I think this is like the second year they've done this, or third year, and that's on Tuesday, October 29th, from 5:30 to 7, and it's in the Premier parking lot, and basically they open up the trunks of cars to give out candy to the kids as they walk through. So it's a kind of a safe way of dealing with it. A lot of jurisdictions started it when we had COVID for Halloween. So I mentioned to them that I would go ahead and just make sure that everybody was aware of it and make a formal announcement. So that's your presentation for them.
Okay, well, we're familiar with this, so it's not something brand new. We have any public comment cards, Mariah?
No, we do not.
Okay. Any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? I guess I was told that the stringers presentation for the alternate use of stringers is going to be put off until the next meeting.
Yes, they've asked in light of the storm and everything, they wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity. It's something that they would like to do, but they also didn't want anybody to feel like it was getting slipped in. Obviously, this was all planned before we knew about the storm anyhow, but
Okay, so 11A, excuse me, 11A is done. We also have, we had late edition resolution number 983, state of emergency declaration for Hurricane Milton. That's under resolution section. And we also had an addendum for Sunshine Land Design amendment to the contract. So those are the changes that I know about. Any other changes or modifications?
I'll make a motion to accept with the changes you've articulated.
Seconded.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Finder,
Aye.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck.
Yes, that brings us down to the consent agenda. Any questions, comments? Any items to be pulled, or a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion this time.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, just for purposes of clarification, since we did have the addendum in there with the contract renewal for Sunshine, just with the understanding that your motion covers items A through D.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Finder.
Yes.
Okay, next one is first reading of ordinance number 468, marijuana dispensary definitions. Sounds familiar. Could the town attorney please read the title into the record?
Yes. Ordinance number 468 is an ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Sewell Point, Florida, amending Chapter 82 zoning, Article 1 in general, Section 82-1 definitions to amend the definitions for medical marijuana and medical marijuana dispensary, and amending Article 5 supplementary regulations, Article 82-398 medical marijuana treatment center dispensing facilities to remove the term medical and for other purposes for severability, the repeal of conflicting ordinances, codification, and an effective date.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on the ordinance? Seeing none, any additional comments from the commission? Vice Mayor Fender.
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance 468 with the striking of the term medical.
I'll second it.
please call the roll.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tom Peck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Finder,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Next item is ordinance number 469, marijuana use in public places. Would the town attorney please read the title into the record?
Yes, sir. Ordinance number 469 is an ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Sewell's Point, Florida, amending Chapter 38, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places, Article 3, Public Places, by adding Section 38-62, marijuana smoking on public streets and sidewalks prohibited, and for other purposes, providing for severability, the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, codification, and an effective date.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on ordinance number 469? Seeing none, any comments from the commission?
I'd like to make a motion to move it.
I will second the motion to accept ordinance 469.
Any additional comments, questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tom Peck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Finder,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman.
Yes.
Hey, Mayor, can I ask a question about a prior item?
Sure, I'm sorry, did we
No,
skip over it?
no, I approved everything, and then I realized I'd written a quick note. It's not that big a deal, so maybe I would ask the town manager or the lawyer for the vesting schedule. When I look at the amendment to the Town of Sewell's Point Money Purchase Plan, it still has Pam Walker in there. It's just like a typo.
Yeah, good
but-
eye.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll make sure that's.
I just want to make sure
there.
you saw it before, which
We
it
saw it, I
shouldn't
thought
doubt
it was
you.
corrected, but
Consent agenda?
It was on the
Yes,
consent
it was in the
agenda.
consent agenda. Does that need, is it fine the way it is?
yes, and
Okay.
we'll just make the Scribners.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mayor, sorry.
No problem. That brings us to resolutions. Resolution number 982, 60-day moratorium on dock structures. Mariah, would you please read the title into the record?
A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Sewell's Point, Florida, declaring zoning in progress to allow for the amendment of regulations concerning dock accessory structures, providing for a 60-day temporary moratorium on accepting and processing new applications for dock accessory structures, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Daniels, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, just to the background, just to go over it briefly, we had a case come before, was it the code board? Zoning, in reference to a structure on a dock. And Jack obviously had ruled that it's not in our code that you could do that. And come to find out that the ordinance, back when it was modified to cover boat lift covers, some of the language that prohibited other dock structures was removed. And I just remembered the comment that you made, and I forgot to check that, so I'll have to look at it. But Glenn's here, so we can ask. But so basically, we worked on an ordinance to correct the deficiency in our own ordinance. And, again, I wasn't here when the ordinance was debated, and I guess when I started here in August of '22, I caught the tail end of it in September of '22 when it was finally passed. So I was working on the assumption that this commission did not want structures on docks unless it was basically a see-through structure, like a tiki hut, I guess, correct? So anyhow, so in looking at the ordinance that we were preparing, I didn't want to rush through it. I wanted to make sure that everything was correct. But at the same time, Jack got some interest from residents that would like to put structures on their docks. So the best way of addressing it, until you have enough time to see, or we have enough time to prepare an ordinance, for you all to look at and make sure that that's what you want to do as a commission. The moratorium is the request that we're putting forward for 60 days until we can go through the 2 readings, and if, in fact, you want to do that.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, so the town manager was referencing this, I was looking at it and I felt like we had really gone through this topic, so I was surprised to see it coming back again, because we did the whole boat lift cover thing. And I agree that I thought we just didn't want anything with walls, no boat houses, but you could have a dock roof. And so I did look at the definition, and we included boat lift cover, said it would include fixed or permanent structures. Does that change anything that you're concerned about, or is there something in particular that's coming up that is like, it's just,
I think the structures at all, without having a definition of, because apparently originally it had what the roof was supposed to be configured of in the ordinance, and that was removed to be replaced with the boat lift covers, and the boat lift covers having a certain type of roof. And I remember that discussion, at least in September of '22, that there was. So to answer your question, I'm not sure. I
Okay.
think we need
would
Glenn
we,
to research.
are you able to look up the code? Because I know there was like, the roof part was kind of farther away than the marine stuff. Like I said, we had a lot of talk about this. So I am slightly hesitant to just hop in of this moratorium when I'm not even sure. Just seems like, well, we might want to talk about, unless there's something coming that we really like. This is just, that's how I felt when I saw this. I was surprised by it, so.
I thought the moratorium is just to give them a little time, give the town a little time to look at it and see if we need to do anything. And, they may come back in a month and say, well, we think the ordinance is okay, we don't need to do anything, we can rescind this thing, I assume, or whatever.
Right. I mean, we can bring forward an ordinance if it looks like we still need it. But with everything else going on, I didn't have a chance
Yeah.
to go back and.
No, I
research
understand
it,
that. I just
so.
didn't know there was a problem. So I'm not, I don't, is this normal that every time you go through an ordinance, I know don't we already have one in progress with something else?
Yeah, we did that already on the accessory structures.
Yes, and that one made sense, but this one, I don't even really see, I don't fully understand what the problem is, to be honest. I don't understand, so I'm not saying I'm against it, but I just don't really feel like I have good information to be saying that we should do this. It just sounds like we don't,
Wouldn't that be why you would do this?
Jack, can you give us a little more details here?
and I certainly don't like to talk about individual homes, so I don't want to talk about, that's not something I like to do as a commissioner, is talk about individual homeowners and what they're doing, more general.
Sure. Jack Reisinger, building official. What happened was a gentleman wanted to have a boat lift cover for his boat. The ordinance was really in detail on you can't, because the way your land lies and the boat lift would be elevated above the grade of your
Yes,
property.
yes, I remember that.
So what happened was an exception to the code came before you to allow for a special exception for those type of boat lift covers. What happened, unfortunately, is the rest of the ordinance was stricken for covered docks. So it changed from covered docks to covered boat lifts. So now when you look at the ordinance, there's nothing in the ordinance that says covered boat docks, just covered boat lifts. So if anybody wants a covered boat dock, and there is language in there pertaining to certain docks that have to be or the covers that have to be gabled, can't be flat for reasons, that's still there. But it doesn't say anything about it being a covered dock, but only a covered boat lift. So anybody that wants to have a gazebo type of a structure on their dock right now, there's nothing that regulates it at all or prohibits it or anything unless they have a boat underneath it. Then it's called a covered a boat lift. So that was a problem, so it should have actually been, when the code was tweaked, it should have just been slashed covered boat dock slashed covered boat lift. But, and that's what we're trying to put back into the code, is the covered boat dock. So it won't change anything else, won't change that part in there about the terrain of the land and the grade and the height of the boat dock to, still it must be 15 feet.
And the colors.
And, well, that's the exception part that's given for the parts that are lower lying. And, you know, if they wanted that, they'd have to have canvas, and that's all in there spelled out. But if somebody wanted to say a gazebo on the end of their dock right now, there's nothing that prohibited, because it doesn't say covered dock, it just says covered boat lift.
Vice Mayor Fender?
So 2 points, just since we're on that topic. I would think that's why we want the moratorium, so that people can't come in and just use this window where the ordinance needs to be cleaned up. So that's why this short-term moratorium exists. And once we've articulated and put back the words that got lost, the ordinance returns to its former state.
Exactly.
So you're saying we're in a worse position than we were before, essentially, if you care what those things look like?
And my next question,
Okay.
is there an active gazebo project underway? Is there somebody that's wanting to do this now that they've seen the loophole?
Somebody went ahead and did it,
Okay,
and we took them before the code board, and
they won.
exactly, because they were 100% correct. It doesn't say I can't have it,
Are they on
There's
that
no-
side or that side?
this side,
Low side?
correct. And there's nothing that says they can't, and unless it was a boat lift. There's no boat lift involved.
So on the shallow side, they could have a roof and it doesn't affect those
They,
water line things we
Well,
went through?
there's nothing in the ordinance now that says they can't. There was,
Oh, okay, so that's what I'm trying, okay.
and we're trying to put it back.
Okay, all right.
It was
That's
taken
why
out by
it's a
accident.
moratorium.
And that's what you guys keep saying, but I couldn't follow, I was having a hard time following. Sometimes I like to pretend I'm a lawyer and I really want to look at the code and see where it's all.
Commissioner Barilla?
Nothing, never mind, taken care of.
Vice Mayor Fender?
Just since we're on the topic and the concept of a structure on a dock came up, I was approached by a resident in the last few months that noticed a structure on a dock pop up. I think I asked about it at the time, and I heard that it was allowed, or there was a change. Do you recall the conversation? Do you recall the structure I'm talking about? It's on the low side. There's not, if you look from the archipelago down, you'll see it. I mean, it's
Depends on which way you look. There's one that's been there for years that John Adams approved, which the code was in place at that time, but yet he approved it. I can't explain that or answer for that.
Didn't pay that.
Has that
much
one
attention.
been there for a while that you're
I was
speaking
approached
of?
by a resident who said, I never noticed that before. Is that new? And I'm like, I never
There's-
noticed it either.
Is that the one that we talked about?
Yes.
Okay, that's the one that Jack's talking about too.
Okay, it's
It was
been there for a
approved by
long
the
It was there prior to
former
me,
building
yes.
official.
All right.
Yes.
That's all I had. It's a sidebar, sorry.
Is there any other comments on the resolution, or?
I think you have a public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, we do. Frank?
Sorry to be late to the party, but just to echo what Mr. Reisinger said, because I was the chairman of the BZA at the time that this all came up. And we developed a set of recommendations for you all. And the issue is basically if you're on the high side, you can build a boathouse. And because the roof is not above the grade of the land. If you're on the low side, you don't have that same luxury the way the code was written. And so we drafted a recommendation to you all that you could put a structure up that was an aluminum frame with vinyl or canvas or whatever. It had to be taken down in a storm. However, at no time did the BZA envision that you could put a house out on the end of the dock, because you have the same issue that it is visually impairing and it is higher than the land. And so I wasn't here at the time the resolution came through. I think HB addressed you all at that time. However, it needs to be corrected. And then Mike, I have a question in terms of, was a permit received for this? And if the permit was received, why was it not caught at that point in time?
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yeah, just kind of a related thought as you're working on ordinances, but I think there's been a lot of, recent development on waterfront property, and I feel like our codes aren't, which is a good thing. I don't think that everyone wants too much government and too many rules, but they deserve a good looking at with all the new houses on the water, and who knows what people are thinking of and whatnot, so. That's it.
Okay.
I'll make,
Vice Mayor Fender?
I'll make a motion to accept the short-term moratorium on dock structures until the correction is made, and in adopting resolution 982.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Can we get an idea of when you think you'll be bringing this back to us?
I'd like to, try to get it back for the 22nd if we can, but, I'm not sure with the storm and how that's going to affect
Okay.
our legal staff and review, so, but that's my goal.
Thank you. Mirage, please call the roll.
Yes. Mayor Tompeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Yes,
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, the next item is resolution number 983, State of Emergency Declaration for Hurricane Milton. Town clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Read it.
Well, I was just gonna say in it, we have tropical storm watch first. I didn't know if we wanted to update that.
We can, I think, we now know that we're in a hurricane watch, so we all will accept that change to the resolution. We'll make sure that it's changed before it gets signed. Whereas the National Hurricane Center has issued a hurricane watch for Hurricane Milton, predicting tropical storm and/or hurricane force winds in the town of Sewell's Point. And whereas Hurricane Milton poses an immediate threat to Martin County and the town of Sewell's Point with the high probability of flooding and substantial property damage and harm to the public in the town of Sewell's Point. And whereas pursuant to section 252.38, paragraph 2, Florida statutes, the town of Sewell's Point is coordinating its emergency management activities with the Martin County Director of Emergency Management, who may invoke local emergency powers as set forth in County Ordinance Number 558 and perform such functions as provided by the ordinances and regulations of Martin County and the laws of the state of Florida. And whereas the town recognizes the adverse impacts of this storm on the town of Sewell's Point and its residents. Now, therefore, in accordance with the authority vested in me, being the mayor, and the town commission of the town of Sewell's Point, Florida, and section 16 of our Code of Ordinances in the town of Sewell's Point and the laws of the state of Florida, I do hereby declare a state of local emergency to exist in the town of Sewell's Point, Florida. This declaration shall remain in effect until the town commission or mayor determines otherwise, or for a period of 7 days, whichever comes first, unless extended pursuant to provisions of law. Instructions for implementation of this declaration may be provided by the town manager and shall be supplemental to this declaration. That's it.
That's it. And I assume this is kind of a pro forma thing that we need to do so we can get FEMA money eventually?
That's correct, so we can
Declare it
get reimbursed.
FEMA money, right?
That's right. There's already a state emergency. The county, as of this afternoon, had not passed their local emergency declaration, but I would assume they've probably done so by now.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? Commissioner Mayfield?
I was just going to make a motion to approve resolution number 983.
I was just going to second it.
Thank you very much. The motion is second, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Fender,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck.
Yes.
Motion passed.
That brings us to item 10, old business, approval of revised drainage project, South River Road at Margarita Road. Mr. Capper, would you like to, well, I think we've gone through this a couple of times, but maybe you can give us a quick,
Quick?
quick overview.
Quick overview, okay. Well, as you know, we've been working on a project called North River Road at
South River Road.
I'm sorry, South River Road at Mandalay Road intersection, where there's some ponding of water on River Road. And it's an area that we would like to eliminate that ponding of water and capture it and put it underground. We proposed initially putting in a system of concrete pipe and some inlets, an exfiltration trench, which is an underground storage area. And we priced that, and that price came in a little higher than we'd hoped for. So we then went to another option, which was to put in PVC pipe with yard drains and to basically eliminate the ponding that is happening on River Road. And ultimately, it will flow down into an inlet system that we have in Mandalay Road. And that came in substantially less. I think the last time we proposed the numbers, which was 2 weeks ago, we recommend that you put a budget of about $30,000 in for that, which would include the prices that we've received from the contractor, which is Sunshine Land Design, our continuing service provider. And it also will put in there some money for mobilization, maintenance of traffic, because that is a lot of traffic goes in that area, drives in that area, and also that would give us some contingencies. So essentially, that's what we're asking for is to move forward with a process that's a PVC pipe system that we'll ultimately will leave out there when we do make the ultimate improvement. I will tell you the ultimate improvement in that area is to put an underground storage area of exfiltration, pipe, inlets. We will be adjusting the grade of the road to set up flowing from west to east, from east to west, and essentially allow the water to be held up in the road instead of falling down into some of the adjacent properties. That project has a grant that has been applied for, and we haven't received yet indication of if we're going to get that grant or not, but that's what our hope is. And that number is, that we applied for is $2 million is what we applied for in grant. So if that happens, we will make a much larger improvement, which will go from essentially Sewell's Meadows area along River Road, and it will continue all the way south to Delano Lane, and we'll capture water in that whole area at that point. So essentially, I believe tonight's, we're looking for approval to move forward with the much, or the less expensive item of a less than $30,000 item with PVC pipe and inlets, five-yard drain inlets, and have that work be done by Sunshine Land Design. So that's what we'd like approval for. I believe the issue was the fact that we had already approved a program of going for the stormwater pipe system, which was an interim system also that would ultimately go into the ultimate system. But the fact of the matter is we need to not work on that project at this point. So.
Mr. Dennis, you have something you want to add here?
Yeah, just to add, if you all decide to approve this, we would have to go back and rescind our vote of June the 18th, where we authorized spending $40,000 for the CEI expenses and design, and then also include the vote in that to authorize the expenditure of up to $250,000 out of our special project funding. So I'm not sure how our attorney feels, but I would think that procedurally, you're probably better off doing a motion to rescind both of those votes. I think we could probably do that in one vote, and then, decide if you want to proceed with this last option. Sorry.
That would be clean.
Just had a couple of quick questions. I read Joe, I read your note of September 17th. I want to make sure that that berm that's in the street that's flooding South River Road is going to be gone once this is done. That's what it says here. I want to make sure that,
Well, we looked at two options with that, is moving it into the private properties. We obviously would need some permission for that, and then just resodding that area, because the yard drain inlet system, the plastic one that we're putting in place, will be approximately where the berm is located.
now?
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Because we don't want to continue to flood South River Road.
right.
The other thing I was wondering about is a schedule. Do you have any idea when we're going to do this?
We were hoping to accomplish this in probably latter part of October and November. At this point, we may get into beginning of December, but it's not a large job, but at the same time, you know, by the time we set up, we're looking at utilities and everything out there, we could get into December. We certainly want to get it done before the holidays.
Okay. Vice Mayor Fender.
Yeah, I think I was just going to ask that timeframe. Let's just, if we get through the procedural stuff tonight and you move forward, when might you think this yard drain system will be implemented and completed?
Again, I would hope that we're going to be done by certainly the middle of December.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard
Yeah.
you say.
And I guess I want to make sure that, assuming that we approve the 30,000 for the, you know, the interim project, we still plan on taking that from the capital millage fund? Is everybody okay with that? I mean, we had originally approved 250,000 for that, but we're taking it, hopefully we're going to rescind that vote. But I assume that the 30,000 we want to spend would still be out of the capital millage fund. Vice Mayor Fender?
So my only question is, since that's such a small amount now, and to my knowledge, we have not yet taken anything out of the capital project fund, if I'm wrong, if I'm correct, you correct me.
Very little.
Is there a way to keep that precedent alive, that we have not actually taken anything out of the capital project fund to date? I mean, can we afford in the budget somewhere $27,000 to do this project without attacking the capital project fund?
I can research that first, and, but I think we could probably move some things around.
I'm not,
Okay, I mean, that's fine. This particular project fits the definition of exactly why we wanted that fund. It's just, you know, an emergency project kind of thing. But if we can find someplace else, that's fine. And I think we spent like 17,000 or something out of the capital millage fund for something. I can't remember exactly the reason.
Well, if we've already broken the ceiling, then that's a moot point then. But if we never have, then that
Well, I think we also we spent some money that we're going to be reimbursed on too, which is another purpose of the fund as well, so. Either way, as long as you can, you know, figure out where to fund it from, that's okay with us. Any other questions? Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes, I just, since the town manager led us to think maybe that would be true, that would be nice if you could find it some other way, but just let us know if not, because I was trying to stick to my South River Road, or South Sewell's Point Road
Yeah.
for that capital stuff, unless, if there's the option to be able to do that.
Okay. Commissioner Burrill?
You know what I'm going to ask you, right, Joe? Cindy Lucas?
So we have not, there's two options for that property. First of all is to fill it, and quite honestly, that's just going to create more problems for the area, I believe, okay? Second solution for the property is to create a low-lying area where we know the water's going to settle and share that with the next-door neighbors. So we have not spoken to the next-door neighbors. I don't know if the neighbor's been in town or not, because they were out of town for a while. And quite honestly, one of the things that is going to help, that you may not realize it, but if we do the project on River Road, we are going to help keep some of that water that is currently going down those properties from Delano Lane all the way to Mandalay, that is quite frankly getting to her property. So, I mean, we are going to see some benefit from just that, fixing that problem up in River Road.
So,
So what I've been trying to do on an interim point and that is working with the pumps that we have out there, that are out in the area, and to lower the water level in those pumps, so that when there is a heavy rain or heavy storm, we may not see as much water on her land. I just want to make everybody recognize something. We do not have a problem with the Phase 1 project working properly. We've always planned on water storing on people's properties. We've always planned on water storing in stormwater treatment areas and the next filtration, okay? It's much better now because basically the water stores in those treatment areas and so forth, and we have a backup pump that pumps it out if there's a problem. We have a resident, and I'm sure through the process of working all the stormwater retrofits we have residents that don't want any water on their property. I cannot promise you that will be the case. We need to store water for treatment. We need to basically figure out a balance on what we can store and then how fast we can get it off. The experience we have currently on that property when water goes into that area is it's there for about an hour and a half. So the Water Management District came out and heard Mrs. Lucas complain, okay, and they kind of said to her, hour and a half is nothing for an area to hold water. So I just want you to know we're trying to accommodate her and making sure she's fearful of what could happen. But we have many mechanisms in place, quite frankly, that water will not flood her house, okay? That was our first objective on all the stormwater retrofits. Houses will not flood. The next objective is get access to people's houses, which we've accomplished that, okay? Now, we do have some water that sits in her driveway area and some things that we've put on-site inlets, as well as the PVC pipe that we're working with on River Road, we've done throughout the properties. So, it's unfortunate that she doesn't like how this is working, but if you look at what flooding, and we've got pictures and all the resiliency program pictures that show you how that area flooded and for how long, not just days, but weeks and months, and now there's no water on there after an hour and a half. So we're going to try to accomplish everything, but I really hate to spend all that money until I see some of this grant money and where it's going, and try to use that instead of having you folks spend $70,000. But I did want to I wanted to set it up where I had a program in place or a plan in place that I could at least know how much money we were thinking about spending on her property and her neighbor's property. And so that's why I put it in the bid.
So we won't do anything on that property until 160 is done,
Right. We want
which makes sense because you want to see what the outcome of that is first.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
that's correct. And like I said, if you can tell me you want it, we obviously are going to bring it forth in front of you, okay? So you're going to say, hey, let's see what happens. I mean, we're going to get a good test this weekend, so.
Yeah,
so
yep,
let's
sure are.
remember
Okay.
that. So let's see where it is. And again, we are trying to use the pumps a little bit more, just to keep the water, basically pull down the water table during the heavy rain periods, and so we get a little more storage, which is essentially what we're going to be doing by putting in a retention area on our property, right?
Yep.
So it's the same concept. We got to keep our eye on it, okay? So there is more effort being taken into monitoring it. How's that? That's probably the right word to say.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kurzman.
Yeah, one of the things I will say, I lived there prior to, I never have water on my property, but my neighbors did, and you had it all along Sewell's Point Road from Margarita all the way past Mandalay, going all the way out to High Point. The water would be there sometimes for weeks after a heavy rain. I'm not even talking a king tide, and that water had no place to go. And this is the first time people are driving through that road that's ever since the project's been done. There's only been one circumstance we've had water on that road, and that's when we had the king tide combined with a Category 1 hurricane at the same time. The water blew up off the intercoastal, came all the ways up the roads. But other than that, it's been bone dry. The other thing that's been mentioned, I had a couple of calls about this, was the money that we're spending on the project, which has all been covered by grants. And eventually, when I first came on, people were worried about what we have in reserves and stuff. When I first became a commissioner, we we just started a new contract with Stewart at the time with their fire rescue. It was at that time, and this is only 6 years ago, it was I think it was $187,000, if I'm correct. It's gonna, now by the time I finish up my term, it's gonna be over $800,000. So this takes a lot of budgeting, and that's pretty much where that extra $700,000 difference is gonna be. And we're at 2.87 when I got elected as a commissioner, and we're at 2.87 plus the .4, and the reason the .4, and I want to explain this to a lot of people, came in, when we wrote the grants, we had to have some skin in the game. And when we put in .4 to make sure that we can have the money to do this as necessary, that's what the .4 was for. And it's what they call sunset. It goes away. Once we finish this project, it's done and over, and it also go toward maintaining the projects as we know them. And it's an important thing to get done. To say that we've maintained 2.87, forget about the .4. The .4, we need to, like I said, have the skin in the game. We got all this grant money. It's cost us nothing. So we've maintained it and we've budgeted for the future. So we're trying to make sure that, just with fire rescue, the other bid that we're up against was with Martin County, and it was over $1 million a year. So it saved a lot of money compared to, and that's prior, before I became a commissioner, they did this, and that was a good deal, foresight. And when this expires, this 10-year contract we have with Stewart Fire Rescue, it probably will be, there's a chance it could be over $1 million a year, and we're gonna have to bang our fist on the table and say, no, it's not. And, and hopefully maybe Martin County might be competitive to keep the price down, but we gotta look at the future. You can't just look at today. Can't be penny wise and dollar foolish. Or penny wise, dollar foolish, it's just, you gotta look further down the road. And, I had to defend myself on this. And this is something I believe in. And the project, people, for years have been complaining, I'm sick of driving through salt water to get to my house, or brackish water. I'm sick of going through flood, I'm sick of the roads being closed. Well, this is what we're trying to do, is honor what the residents have asked for. And this is what it took. And we've been very fortunate to survive on these grants, which have made a difference, and it's not costing the taxpayer. On top of that, we have roads that have been paved in 30-plus years. Guess what? Sewell's Point Road will actually be paved with grant money. Otherwise, it's not gonna even happen. It's gonna be nice to have a refresher on that. And also, some of these side roads, part of them will be getting paved as well. It's a win-win for the town, and it's definitely dollar wise and not penny foolish on this. Or it's a dollar foolish, wherever you're saying we go. But,
You're butchering the cliche pretty badly.
Yeah, you did it.
While you're
Yeah, yeah.
But we understand.
I just wanted to clarify that, because, people question me on it, and that's my answer to them, and that's how I'm going to maintain with it. And thank you for the hard work on getting those grants done. That means a lot.
Yes, it does. Okay, are there any other comments or question on this? If not, I guess we need a motion to, the first motion would be to rescind the $40,000 expenditure for design and CEI expenses, and also the $250,000 expenditure for funding that we did on June the 18th.
I'll make the motion to rescind the June 18th expenditure requests for the flood fix on North River Road, South River Road, thank you, in hopes of finding a much more cost-effective way to solve that problem.
I'll second it.
Any additional comments? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Burrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fender?
Yes,
Motion passed.
All right, now we need a motion to approve the interim project utilizing yard drains at a cost not to exceed $30,000.
likewise, I'm excited to offer a motion to go with Phase 2, or the second idea to fix that flooding issue on South River Road for less than $30,000.
I'll-
And in addition, I assume you also want to say to authorize the town manager to sign any proposals within his financial
That's
limitations.
exactly what I would like to
That's
do.
what I thought.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Finder?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow?
Yes,
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, the alternate use of stringers is off the table for this evening, which brings us down to commission and staff closing comments. Mr. Daniels?
Thank you. I appreciate Mariah stepping in tonight.
Yay, Mariah.
Usually when we have these storm events, the police department gets pushed to the limits, and well as Jack and the rest of the staff. So I want to thank them publicly for their work they've done and the work they'll be doing the next couple days. Also, we do have our next meeting is the 22nd, and then I believe we have one meeting in November, that's the 16th, as I recall. And I believe we just have one meeting in December, but we do have the special meeting on the 6th at 10 a.m. Of the 6th of November, and that's to accept the results of the election. And that's all part of the process that we have to go through.
10 a.m.?
That's at 10 a.m. on the 6th. And I guess that's set between our code or the supervisor of elections. I think it's the supervisor of elections requires us to do that. So, and I know I'm probably missing something, but I'll bring it up on the 22nd. Oh, there was one other thing. We reference to the property at 19 East High Point. We were successful this morning in our summary judgment, and we were awarded that judgment, which the counsel that's handling it is Owen Schultz, and he has, once we get the order signed, we'll have it, and it basically means that there would be a foreclosure auction that would probably be in November sometime. I sent out an email with, that Owen had sent, to the commission. So, it's one of those things, we had to do something, and, it's an unfortunate set of circumstances, because I never liked those type of circumstances, but, we'll leave it at that. I think, when Owen left the courtroom, he mentioned to Mr. Lagana that he suggested that he contact me and see what we could work out, so.
So about now that you said that, it just triggered in my head. Do you all want to have, because it's still under litigation, do you want an attorney-client session before your next meeting on the 22nd? And hopefully Mr. Schultz can make it. If not, he'll brief me and I'll brief you as to where we are, because the judgment was about $350,000.
Excuse me, how much?
About $350,000, is that the number?
Yeah, I think it's like 367 was the final, that included
so-
the attorney fees for Mr. Schultz.
So that's what the judge awarded today, and it said there'll be a foreclosure sale scheduled sometime in probably November. So there is some strategy you might want to discuss in terms of bidding at that foreclosure sale, frankly. So if you
Sounds
want to
like
have,
a good idea. It's not too high for an STA, right, Joe?
so I'll then formally request that now. I'll say, I require advice and an attorney-client session to be scheduled on October 22nd at 5. Your meeting's at 6, is 5,
Yeah.
would work for everybody, or 5 p.m.?
Yeah.
In attendance will be the mayor, pardon me? Maybe we can make that, okay. In
our
attendance
Tuesday
will be the mayor, the commissioners, Mr. Schultz, hopefully myself, and the manager, and we'll discuss litigation strategy in regards to the case of the town of Sewell's Point versus the Laganas.
Thank you. Commissioner Brill?
I just want to speak I spoke to Bob about this, and we've gone back and forth, and he called up Waste Management. I think we should put a plan in place that if we get a storm warning or a hurricane warning or anything like that, that we make sure that we have a plan in place that we either clean up prior to that, or we come up with some kind of a plan that has people clean up their yards of debris. I mean, if you go around, and especially like in my neighborhood, there's piles there, piles of stuff like high. And this hurricane now coming, if we don't get a pickup, which Bob is trying to, and everybody's trying to get Waste Management to come in and pick it up on an emergency basis, this stuff is just gonna fly around the neighborhood and cause problems. So I don't know how we can deal with it, so I'm just throwing it out there, so that maybe it's something we could think
I
about.
mean, normally, it's my recollection is that Waste Management will put out a notice, on their website or, asking everybody to,
Yeah, that's usually what happens, but apparently hasn't sunk in,
okay.
so,
And we have asked residents not, as soon as we knew about the storm, not to place anything out, because we don't want to trim your trees before the storm. That should be done in April and May before the hurricane season. So, but again, not everybody follows, what they should be doing.
Vice Mayor Fender.
Well, we kind of got off the topic there, but two things. I think we've done this in the past, so I think there's some strategies we've tried to employ that have had some level of work, but we kind of quickly got off the subject of the summary judgment, and I heard in your words that the direction was to come talk to you. Does that imply that there is some finalization or?
No. To be quite honest with you, and I wish I could be optimistic, but, I've
I
talked
mean,
to
do we
Mr.
have in our power the capability to limit the impact of this?
I'm not sure, that's probably a question for Glenn, and that's probably one of the things he wants to go over with
All
us
right.
in the session, I would assume.
I mean, I'm certainly not trying to be a hard-nosed commissioner. I mean, this is a small town, and he's been a member of our community for a long time. So, I mean, our job here is not to bankrupt him, our job is just to make the ordinance follow. And we've said that a million times, I know, but, it'd be good.
If he hadn't been as stubborn as a billy goat the last 2 years, he wouldn't have this problem.
Well, that's my point, and maybe, I keep giving him the benefit of the doubt that he will come around and realize that he has to follow the rules. So, I mean, if there's still a way for us to make that happen, I'm still open to that. I'm just saying that as a member of the community, right? Not as a commissioner, not as a person who's won a summary judgment. That's not my goal on this dais. This is not how I believe this commission makes money, just for the record.
And it sounds like something we can discuss on the 22nd.
And as Bob said, Owen Schultz did reach out to Mr. Lagana after the hearing and suggested that if he had any thoughts, to get in touch with Bob. So the ball's really in his court now, and the 22nd gives him 12 days or so to be able to have that conversation. So when we have the attorney-client session, hopefully we can give you any feedback that he may have, or suggestions he may come up with.
Commissioner Kurzman.
Two things I want to touch on. One is there are a lot of properties that have like pallets sitting on them in driveways, and there's properties that have things that really, we should have things put in order, so that if we do have heavy winds and the storm really does become something, nobody wants to have a pallet or something flying through their window. And, if you look around, there's things that could be put away on people's properties that could actually fly into their neighbors' homes. And, it'd be nice to have the police take a ride around and knock on some doors on some places that have these loose items that could actually harm somebody's neighbor. And on the other part, I concur pretty much with the vice mayor said, is with Mr. Lagana, he's been a valuable part of the community, he's been a volunteer, and, I'd love to see things get worked out with him. I would not want to see the town bid on his property or anything. I don't want to see it go to auction. I just want to see something worked out. Take the high road, whatever happens, and, let's, I've already expressed my opinions on the dais on foreclosing or taking away somebody's property, which I'm 100% against, no matter what happens, no matter who it is.
Well, I think, first of all, we're not the people that have had to live with the mess that's been there for the last 3, 4, 5 years, however. And I think we've given him every opportunity to resolve the problem very simply. All he had to do is remove the fence and remove the little trailer. That's all he had to do. But he was so stubborn, he just wouldn't do it, and it
Costs the town a lot of money.
cost the town a lot of money, he's gonna cost himself a lot of money, too. Okay, any other comments from the commission?
That's
Motion
adjourned.
adjourned? Motion adjourned. Thank you.